Hello! Currently, it is 88 degrees here at Florissant Valley Community College. I am Jell, and this is your noon news update. A primate facility near Festus is offering to settle a lawsuit filed by PETA. The Post-Dispatch reports attorneys for Connie Braun Casey of the Missouri Primate Foundation said she is willing to give up the chimpanzees and other primates housed there. The suit claims the facility had unsafe and unsanitary conditions. PETA says it will make sure the animals will be transferred to accredited sanctuaries. A Collinsville man is accused of killing his former neighbor. Robert Beckman was charged yesterday with 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with Daniel Lee's death. Lee was gunned down Friday night in Collinsville. Investigators say Beckman and Lee had a long-running dispute. St. Louis County Police are searching for a missing woman. Authorities say Lauren Emily Curtis disappeared after she left her home in the 400 block of Summit Place last week. The 19-year-old suffers from mental health issues and has autism. Anyone who knows her whereabouts is asked to call the St. Louis County Police. And an investigation is underway following the death of an inmate at the St. Louis Justice Center downtown. Police say Leon Smith died of cardiac arrest at the hospital after collapsing at the jail on Saturday. Smith lived in St. Louis and was in custody on a second-degree robbery charge. And police are identifying the man who was shot and killed over the weekend in St. Louis College Hill neighborhood. Authorities say Eddington Davon was found shot early Saturday in the 4400 block of North 19th Street. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. No arrests have been made. On to the weather. Today, we have a high of 92. Don't know where I got 19 from. High of 92, low of 69 with isolated thunderstorms. Tomorrow, high of 87, low of 70, mostly cloudy. Thursday, we got morning showers with a high of 85, low of 68. And Friday, it is going to be chilly with evening showers and a high of 78 and a low of 69. Yes, so chilly. And Saturday, thunderstorms, high of 83, low of 72. That wraps up our news and weather here at 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. But please stay tuned, because after we take a short break, we will be back with GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noonish to 3 p.m. So please stay tuned. Until then, here is Salt on Wound by Pirate Signal here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. And thank you so much for listening. That was Salt on Wound by Pirate Signal here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. So, we like to kick the show off with what games are coming out this week, what's coming out next week, and what anime are in theaters. So, let's get started. First of all, PlayStation 4. We got the Rocket League Jurassic World car pack. Also, Anima, Gate of Memories, The Nameless Chronicles, Battlestar Galactica Deadlock, The Broken Alliance, Musinx, Pixel Junk Monsters 2 Encore Pack, SteamWorld Dig 2, The Lost Child, and Yoku's Island Express, which I swear has been showing up on this list like every week for the past month. And, oh my goodness, this Friday is New Gundam Breaker. The aptly named New Gundam Breaker. Those are actually pretty fun games. Okay, the Gundam Breaker game has been coming out in Japan for a while. This will be like the 4th one. But the 3rd one was released in Asia with an English translation. Didn't come to America, but there was an English version. And I did import it. Those are pretty fun. The entire idea, it's a lot like Gundam Build Fighters, where it's about buying and controlling and customizing Gundam models rather than actual Gundams. And it's kind of Gundam Monster Hunter. Like, you don't really play against each other. You team up with, like, 3 other people's Gundams, and you go and take down big armies and giant Gundams and stuff. And, yeah, the Gundam customization on it is really, really good, and is the primary purpose, is collecting Gundam parts and mixing and matching them to make your own super cool custom Gundam, and it has tons of customization options, but they are mostly for more for how they look than how they control. It's not exactly Armored Core. So that's actually relatively exciting. Moving on. Xbox One, what are you getting? You're getting Rocket League Jurassic World Car Pack, Anima Gate of Memories, The Nameless Chronicles, Battlestar Galactica Deadlock, The Broken Alliance, War Thunder, Yoku's Island Express, Grab the Bottle, Battle Knights, Slime Son Super Slime Edition, and yet another Zombie Defense HD. Nintendo Switch is getting Jurassic League, I wish. Rocket League, Jurassic World Car Pack, Anima Gate of Memories Arcade Edition, Anima Gate of Memories Nameless Chronicles, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, additional characters Hakumen, Naoto, Shirogane, and Batista. BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, additional characters Jubei, Aegis, and Carmine. BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, Yang Xiaolong. So for all you Yang fans, she will be out for BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. At least on Switch. I would assume on PS4 as well, but who knows? Ink, some game called Ink, Musinks. I think they spell Musinks differently on each of these lists. Pixel Junk Monsters 2, Encore Pack, SteamWorld Dig 2, The Lost Child, Yoku's Island Express, Grab the Bottle, Destiny's Princess, A War Story, A Love Story, Drawful 2, ooh, Gunbird 2 for Nintendo Switch, and Johnny Turbo's Arcade Wizard Fire. Oh, we got good stuff. If you've ever seen my old YouTube channel, with I Am the Bard, that's the game that's from. Actually, that's the sequel to it. That's the one with Curse It, Poison Water, I'll Smash It to Bits. It's a 2-player arcade RPG-ish thing, kind of Gauntlet-ish, but only 2-player. But it has amazingly terrible voice acting. And, I have a very big soft spot for Wizard Fire because of its beautiful voice acting and fantastic bard character. Anyway, Lost in Harmony, Minecraft Switch Edition, Pode, Survive, Mr. Cube, The Journey Down, Chapter 1, Vegas Party, and then on the 22nd, Mario Tennis Aces. Yes, please. I'll take 2. Actually, no, I'll only take 1. Gotta save money. I'm very excited for Mario Tennis Aces. Played the open beta-ish thing for that, and it was an absolute blast, and I can't wait to sink my teeth into the full game. Anyway, PlayStation Vita is getting Musync and The Lost Child. So that's all the games coming out this week. What's coming out next week? Well, next week on PlayStation 4, Lumines Remastered, Rainbow Skies, Slime Son Super Slime Edition, The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, which if you recall from the E3 presentation, that's a new game set in the Life is Strange universe, but it stars like a little boy pretending to be a superhero. Point is, it's going to be a free download, so enjoy that. The Crew 2 Gold Edition, Trove, Geode, World of Tanks, Mercenaries, and then on the 28th, Fighting EX Layer. I am excited for that, as much as I know it's kind of screwing me over. Don't care, Fighting EX Layer is next Thursday. And then Friday is, also Thursday is Tour de France 2018, and then Friday is The Crew 2, the less gold edition. Okay, whatever. Moving on, Xbox One next week is getting Lumines Remastered, Nier Automata Become as Gods Edition, The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, The Crew 2 Gold Edition, Trove, Geode, World of Tanks, Mercenaries, and then Epic Loon, Tour de France 2018, and then the Xbox One port of Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, then Magical Brickout, and The Crew 2. The heck is Epic Loon? I need information. Okay, that's not what I expected. I don't even know what I'm looking at. It's a lot more H.R. Geiger than I expected. Ahem. Moving right along, Nintendo Switch is getting Another World, Brawlout, Cubicolor, De Blob, Lumines Remastered, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle Donkey Kong Adventure, Tennis World Tour, and Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana Day 1 Adventurers Edition are coming. And then Angels of Death, Back to Bed, Bomb Chicken, Epic Loon, Figment, Fossil Hunters, Galac Z Variant S, MotoGP 18, Paranautical Activity, The Journey Down, Chapter 2, Burn Star, Ooh, that's a great name. Crash Bandicoot N. Trilogy and Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. Wow, the Switch is getting a lot of games. Admittedly, because they can just port it all, port everything. But yay, Ys 8 is hitting Switch next week, which is great, because Ys 8 is a fantastic game. I will personally vouch for it. Very fast action RPG. You're just zipping around at the speed of sound in that thing. Like, seriously, if they did a do-over on a Sonic RPG, it should be like Ys 8. You can go stupid fast. Okay, Burnstar is something kind of Bomberman looking. Gotcha. Moving on, PlayStation Vita next week is getting Rainbow Skies 2064 Read-Only Memories, Psychedelica of the Ashen Hawk, and VA11 Hall A, which is the, I believe that's the bartending simulator thing. It's kind of neat. Very visual novel-y, but, like, really cool. And, so that wraps those up. There is nothing coming out on 3DS this week or next week. Week afterwards, though, you get the Zelda Edition 3DS, though, so that's a thing. So that wraps up the new game releases. What about anime in theaters? Well, June 20th, though, tomorrow, you've still got a chance to watch Pompoko dubbed in theaters. Then, in July 3rd, 5th and 7th is an anime called Fireworks. It will be subbed on July 3rd and 5th and dubbed on the 7th. Then there's Makia, When the Promised Flower Blooms, which will be in theaters from July 20th to July 26th. Princess Mononoke will be hitting theaters again, July 22nd dubbed, 23rd subbed, and 25th dubbed. And then there's a Sailor Moon R&S double feature that will be in theaters, July 28th dubbed and July 30th subbed. So that wraps up our new game releases and what anime are in theaters for this week. I will catch you after the break, because we are going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we've got more video game news and information. Because, it's a week after E3, so the rest of the E3 stuff, a bit more elaboration on things seen at E3, discussing some of that, and obviously we'll be talking about the Super Smash Bros. Controversy raging online. Thankfully, it's a delightfully non-political one. People are arguing, is it just an enhanced port, or is it a truly new game? I will safely say it is absolutely 100% a new game. I need to do a video explaining that, but without a shadow of a doubt, it is a new game, and we will discuss how and why that is. It's actually very simple. It's an entirely new game. You just can't tell because the camera's too zoomed out. But we will discuss that later on in the program. But until then, here is Moving to Brussels by BB Man here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. That was All I Want by The Offsprings here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell. See, this is what happens when you let me get to choose the music. This is why I don't choose the music. And I do. They Might Be Giants and All I Want back to back. Slight technical hiccup there. We have this computer that, times everything right, so that way, our PSAs and stuff go off on the half hour and stuff, and somehow it got a smidge screwed up, so, I had to fill in the, spots that were open, because I had deleted the songs that were going there. Oops. Because I had not noticed that for some bizarre reason it wanted to. Okay, how do clocks work? I am very confused now, because the timing of everything is off. Huh. I should run these. The things. So, you're listening to 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Here's some diverse PSAs for your diverse mind. Thank you for listening. And as soon as we get back, we'll get back to GameBabble Live proper. My brain is currently exploding. That was Fresher Than a Mall by Young Row here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome to the Time Warp, where time and space have no meaning. Also, GameBabble Live, reporting live from said Time Warp. Okay, I want you to figure this one out. At 12:20, I realize, oh shoot, I've just deleted all the songs that go until 12:30. I need to replace them, so I replace them with 10 minutes of songs. 5 minutes of songs go by. I go on the air to say, haha, so I kinda screwed up, only to then realize it's 12:30. Where did that other 5 minutes go? I'm looking at these numbers, and they don't make sense. Did I really talk for 5 minutes? I don't think I talked for 5 minutes. So where did those 5 minutes go? I wish I had the X-Files theme queued up. Or Twilight Zone. Maybe a mashup of the two. Regardless of how time and space are beginning to warp around me as reality loses its very meaning, it's time to talk about video games. Cripes, where do we even begin? You know what, screw it, let's just talk about Smash Ultimate because I can't I am so overwhelmingly excited for Smash Ultimate. I've been watching everyone else's reaction videos online. No one reacted quite like I did for the announcement of Daisy. I'm very happy. I am a happy camper right now. No one's cut. Daisy's in. It's all good. But that's sort of the crux of the problem right now. There's sort of a debate going on online about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Namely, is it really a new game, or is it an enhanced port? And everyone's been arguing back and forth, new game, enhanced port, new game, enhanced port. And in a lot of ways it doesn't matter because it's fun, except now that I've looked more closely at it, it is absolutely 100% a new game. The problem is that you can't tell. You see, here's the thing. People, since they're bringing in 68 freaking playable characters, and a lot of them were already available in, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, people are thinking, oh, they copy-pasted the data over, and then they added in all these other characters and stages and stuff, because that's what would make the most logical sense, right? We can all agree? And people look at the graphics and they think, yeah, no, those are the same graphics. The game doesn't look any different. That's actually not. And, people are arguing, but they've made so many other changes that the fact that the graphics are the same and they're recycling character models and animations and stuff doesn't matter. They're not doing that. They are not recycling character models, and it's questionable if they're recycling animation. They've actually remade the entire game from the ground up. It is here that you're going to say, what? But it looks the same. It actually doesn't. But you can't tell because it's Smash. The camera is so zoomed out and the action is so fast-paced that you can't really see the graphical difference. But if you go to the official website, go to Captain Falcon's page and sift through there, you will see a picture of Captain Falcon fighting Little Mac in one of the Fire Emblem Arena stages, and you cannot deny that there's a very noticeable graphical upgrade there. There's actually a similar picture from Smash on Wii U, and once you put those two side by side, there's no mistaking it. In fact, if you want to hit up my Twitter, I posted a comparison image of the two. My Twitter is GeltonZ, Twitter, GELTONZ. Just hit up my Twitter and you'll see I put up a comparison image because it blew my mind. These are clearly new character models, and the more I looked at it, the more I realized every single one of the 68 characters has a new character model. Now, due to the fact that no one can tell because the camera zoomed out, I would agree that this was actually a complete waste of everyone's time and money, because no one can tell there's this huge graphical upgrade, but there is one. On Captain Falcon, his muscles are more defined. You've got, a lot more wrinkles in the clothing, and there's actually, scuff marks on his suit. More than that, Little Mac, again, you've got, the wrinkles in his pants and on the boxing gloves, and his muscles are way, way more defined, and he has a more expressive face. But, others were talking about Zero Suit Samus, some people were complaining about the model differences. She's not as some people were complaining because she doesn't look as chesty, and I noticed, wait a second, that suit has more texture and detail to it. There's more muscle definition as well. Samus has a lip texture now, and the hair is layered more like Dead or Alive hair, and you can actually see, like, stray strands. You put the two images side by side, the Wii U and the Switch models of Samus, there's no denying it. Similar, Marth has a much younger-looking face. His hair is a little more unruly. His tiara is completely different. There's tons of differences in his armor. Peach's lips actually look smaller. They definitely redid her face, and you'll notice that there's more, like, crinkles in the lace on her dress. Then, so it's like, okay, fine, but what about the really simple characters? Kirby and Jigglypuff. And I was like, I gotta see if I can find even the most minute differences on these characters. And I found one on Pikachu. Pikachu's tail has more of a curve to it. Now, it's here that you're going to go, well, they could just swap out the tail. And indeed, they could just swap out the tail, but why? The only reason they would have to redo the tail is if they were redoing the entire model. It's very slight. You really have to look side by side. The Wii U Pikachu, it's straight lines for his Thunderbolt tail, and then the Switch Pikachu, it has like a little more of an arc and a curve to make it look a little bit more natural. I know, you could swap out the tail. They have female Pikachus in this one, which have little heart tails. I'm well aware. And this is one of the things that I want to, but, yes, they redid Pikachu's model. Even though they really didn't have to, they did. And I'm sure you're saying, next you'll tell me they redid Mario's model. They did. He has a much more defined denim texture on his overalls, and you'll notice that the red shirt actually has a texture with little wrinkles in it. That was certainly not on the Wii U version of the game. They seriously redid 68 freaking character models. And no one can tell. It's actually like the saddest irony, because one of the main reasons people are saying, oh, it's just a port, is because they've only announced 2.5 new characters. And it actually would have been better. People wouldn't be regarding it as a port if they had actually just ported it and then added in 10 new characters, rather than doing 68 all-new character models. Apparently the animations are different, too. Shofu, who is a semi-competitive player, I was watching him stream a Japanese Smash Ultimate Invitational, and he was commenting on the fact that all of Donkey Kong's movements are completely different. Now, all the characters are also, like, there's a bunch of new moves and new move properties and new move effects. Like, Breath of the Wild Link is effectively an entirely new character, which is probably why Young Link is more important than ever. Because Breath of the Wild Link doesn't have the hook shot, and his bomb is now the remote bomb, and he has, like, a different bow and arrow, and of course he has a different super. Everyone has a different super, a different final smash. Pretty much all of those have been redone. Ganon, a lot of people are noticing Ganondorf uses a sword when using his smash attacks, which he didn't do before. Those are new moves, new hitboxes. People are telling me Pit's forward smash is different. I can definitely say Mewtwo's up smash looks much larger. They might have actually redone everyone's animation. Like, again, according to Shofu, I'm just taking his word on this one, Donkey Kong's animations are entirely new. So they might have actually redone everyone's animation. Seriously, remade the whole game from the ground up. And yeah, it is running on the Unreal Engine now. It's running on a whole new graphics engine. You can figure this out. Like, if you're wondering where the whole running on Unreal Engine thing comes from, watch the trailer, and at the very, very end, when they have the screen that has all the different copyrights on it, at the very bottom, you'll see the Unreal logo and the Epic Games copyright. So, yeah, it's running on Unreal Engine, which is a new engine, and they're porting all of the characters over to Unreal, and they're overhauling all of their character models, and then they have new moves, and they have new animations, and there's a new UI, so many new features. People are mentioning the game's much faster. They've added in a lot of techniques from Melee that were not in Smash 4. They are, there are still new music, new stages, and new characters coming to this game. It's a new game. They seriously rebuilt all of Smash Ultimate from the ground up, but it's so hard to see because you look at the game and you go, this just looks like the Wii U game. And that's fine because the Wii U game was freaking great, but it's really hard to tell. Sakurai can sit there and tell you we've done tens of thousands of changes to this game, but you look at it and you think it's a port. It looks like a port because the camera's too zoomed out, because the game is going too fast. But in reality, it's not a port. It is an entirely new game, because they've really, literally redid everything from the ground up, even though they really didn't have to. I've got a lot of videos that are in the pipeline right now, and it's a good question if I'll get any of them out, but I'm kind of working on an actual video on this subject, so that way I could just put up side-by-side comparison images, but do it yourself. The official Smash Brothers website is up. They have pages for every single character full of screenshots, so go to the page for your favorite character, look at the screenshots, then look up some screenshots of how they looked on Wii U, and you will probably find a difference, unless it's Jigglypuff, which I tried really hard to find the difference. I think Jigglypuff's arms might be longer, maybe? I know the ears look like they animate more, maybe? It's really hard to tell, but I'm sure Jigglypuff has a new model, because goodness knows everyone else has a new model. Even though it would be completely pointless to give Jigglypuff a new model. Pointless. It's like President Michael Wilson said. Nothing is pointless, and that's because I'm the president of this great United States of America. I'm excited about Metal Wolf Chaos. So, this is what we're looking at here. Smash Ultimate is absolutely a new game. It is not a port in any sense of the word, but people can't tell because the differences are so freaking minor. You need a microscope. But that image, again, on the Captain Falcon page, the picture of Captain Falcon versus Little Mac, that one just says it all. The moment you look at that picture, you go, oh no, these are new graphics. Because it's in... Some of the lighting on those pictures is terrible. Like, all the Zero Suit Samus pictures are terrible because the lights are too bright, and so her nose looks like it's melting into her face. It's not very well lit. But that one with Captain Falcon and Little Mac is just spot on and makes you go, oh wow, these are new graphics. They seriously overhauled everything. And they did. My mind is seriously blown that they even bothered to do that. But they did, and I'm okay. Good job. You did good. So where do we even go from there? Oh, you know what? Let's talk about something else from that Nintendo update. People were looking at Super Mario Party, the new Mario Party for the Switch. And of course, the big thing that everyone is requesting is online play. Why don't we have a Mario Party with online play? Well, Super Mario Party will have online play for A mode. Unfortunately, it's not the board game mode. What you do is you can set up competitions of 5 different mini-games in a row, any of the mini-games. You play sets of 5 in a row, and you can do that online against other people. And it's here, of course, that people are going to be disappointed. They're going to go, oh, why is it just these updates? Yeah, why is it just this mode? Why can't we play the actual Mario Party board game online? And the answer to that question is because it would be very tricky. See, the thing with Mario Party and the actual board game is that it takes a hot minute. It can take a good 30 minutes to an hour to complete a run of a Mario Party board. And so Nintendo, of course, is concerned about that. They're like, you try to play Mario Party online, keeping that connection stable for 30 minutes, there could be problems. They're concerned about people quitting in the middle or someone needing to take a bathroom break or any number of things that could happen in a 30-minute session. Most online games do not have, like, unless it's an MMORPG, they don't have 30-minute long matches. And that's one of the reasons why Mario Party doesn't have online play. And this is frustrating to a lot of people because, a lot of us, our friends are people we meet on the internet or folks who have moved away from us and aren't really local anymore. So it's a lot harder, especially for older people, to get a full Mario Party crew together to play Mario Party. So everyone wants to hop on Skype and just link up and play Mario Party over the internet. And I can't blame them. I would like to do that. I think that would be fun. But I understand why Nintendo is wary about doing it. The entire reason is because a game of Mario Party just takes too long. So it's like, fine, everyone wants online. The easy way to do online is just, okay, here's a collection of mini games that can be played online. And that's nice. It's a step, but it's still not playing Mario Party online in full. And that's what has people annoyed, because people have been screaming about this effectively since the Wii, because, that's the first system with serious online. GameCube had online, but only for 2 games. So people have been screaming about having online on the in Mario Party for probably a decade now, and just Nintendo is not delivering there, and it is a shame because of exactly why I said. It's the kind of thing where I almost wonder if maybe they'd patch it in later, but I kind of doubt it. It's just an interesting situation there. And while we are still on the subject of Nintendo, Arcade Archives Donkey Kong is out. Thank freaking goodness. I know there are people who have waited so many years for this. Because what a lot of you may not know is that most, if not all, home ports of Donkey Kong are missing a stage. The NES version is missing a stage, and Nintendo keeps giving you the NES version. This is the first time we've gotten an official... I need to double check, but this might be the first time we've gotten an official home port of the original arcade Donkey Kong. And to hardcore Donkey Kong fans, this matters. Also, that's not the only interesting Nintendo game getting an Arcade Archives release. Sky Skipper is also out, which is a Nintendo arcade game that may never have been released. Apparently there were 10 prototype cabinets that were shipped to America. I don't know if there were any Japanese cabinets, but they never put the game really in arcades. It had a test run and that's it. But here's the even weirder thing. Even though Sky Skipper didn't hit arcades, and even though it's a Nintendo game, it did get a home port on the Atari 2600. Bleh? So, I guess for the longest time, the only way to play Sky Skipper was the 2600 version, and now it's the original unreleased arcade version is out on the Switch. Very, very strange situation there. Anyway, I do believe it is time to kick you back to the music, taking another short break, and then we get back. Hey, more GameBabble Live. So, coming up next is Ayo by Sa Leon here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. That was Fall in Line by Christina Aguilera featuring Demi Lovato here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. So, time to get back to our video game news. First of all, Groove Coaster is apparently going to get a Steam release. Groove Coaster is a Japanese arcade game that is, it's a Japanese arcade music game. A lot of people have played it at conventions and stuff, or places that have really, really sweet arcades still around. That is coming to PC this July, so good times. Good times. Also, the World Health Organization has officially classified gaming disorder as a mental health condition. Personally, I prefer the term Pac-Man fever. But, like I said, we're in a time warp around here. Yeah, so a lot of people are probably hearing this and they're concerned, but honestly, this is the least of the problems going on in gaming right now. They are saying that the disorder is actually incredibly rare, with 3% or less of the gaming population actually affected. Playing video games for I don't know how you play video games for 50 hours a day, but here in the time warp that we're apparently in, that is entirely plausible. So, people who manage to warp time and space to play video games for 50 hours a day, that's not the problem. It's like the actual addiction, which I know a lot of us who have been gaming for a while have been through the freaking Dungeons and Dragons panic, and we remember all the other panics surrounding video games, where people are severely concerned about video game addiction for people who play, many hours a day. Oh no, this is such a huge problem. But that's not really the issue. To understand what gaming disorder actually is, you have to think back to those crazy extreme cases, like the parents who let their children die because they wouldn't stop playing an MMORPG. I think poop socking would have been a better term for this. Poop socking disorder. For anyone unfamiliar with that term, that is the idea that, I don't know if anyone ever actually did this, but it is a term. The idea of people who are so addicted to an MMO that they refuse to leave their chair, and so they poop in their socks. Yes, I know, it's disgusting. I don't know if anyone's ever done it before, but the term poop socking is used for, as a way of describing people who, or like the act of having to play an MMO for an obscene amount of time to get anywhere is often like referred to as poop socking. And I think if they called this poop socking disorder, we would be in a much better place. Because if you can't pull yourself away from an MMO long enough to take a crap, then you might have a problem. That would be actual gaming disorder. However, as many other they've said that several other medical societies have raised the concern that the new classification may lead to many false alarm cases and undue worry from parents. Because your kids that are playing Fortnite for 5 hours a day, that's not nearly as much of a problem as you think. And them ignoring their homework, they were going to ignore their homework. Whether they had Fortnite or not, they were going to ignore their homework. No one wants to actually do their homework. They need to, but they don't want to. Has nothing to do with Fortnite. I guarantee it. I'm being serious. I mean, you could take away all my video games. It wouldn't make me do my homework. I remember these things clearly. So, just wanna put that out there. I think there will be plenty of undue panic and false alarm cases, absolutely. And I wish they would have come up with a better name than just gaming disorder. But yeah, you have an addictive personality. You can get addicted to any number of things, and video games are certainly one of them. So not wrong, but maybe could have been handled with a little more nuance. Also, apparently there's some kind of graphical difference between Fighting EX Layer on PS4 and PS4 Pro. I just had that pulled up. They've got a trailer up and some comparison images. I can't tell the difference. All I can tell is that I really love how Fighting EX Layer looks. If you're unfamiliar with Fighting EX Layer, I've talked about it on this show a bunch, and it's coming out soonish. Was that the end of this week or next week for Fighting EX Layer? I hope it's this week. Let's see. No, dang it, it's next week. Yeah, end of next week, next Thursday, Fighting EX Layer comes out. And what that is, does anyone remember Street Fighter EX? Street Fighter EX was the 3D Street Fighter game, and it had a nice mix of new characters and classic Street Fighter characters. Well, Fighting EX Layer is literally Street Fighter EX minus the Street Fighter. It has the Street Fighter EX characters. Skullomania is there, Kairi is there, Hokuto is there, Crackerjack is there, Blair is there, Alan Snyder is there. We're waiting on Pulamperna area and Volcano Rosso. But yes, all of those characters are back, just without the Street Fighters. And you're probably going to say, well, why not? Because Street Fighter EX and the EX characters are made by Arika, and the Street Fighter characters are made by Capcom. So this is Arika going, we're going to make our own game, and we'll just use our own characters. And yeah, no, it is actually Street Fighter EX4, just minus the Street Fighter. Like, the plot, to anyone that cares about the plot, it is apparently continuing on. They just scrubbed the names. Like, instead of Shadowloo, it's a mysterious, shadowy organization. Still Shadowloo, or Shadowlaw, however you want to pronounce that. Bison's group. They're still in the plot. We just can't say their name. They're redacted now. So that's interesting, and yeah, that's coming out. It's going to be a downloadable title. There's going to be like a light and a premium version of the game. It's going to be out next week. I'm excited to play it, even though my two characters, which are Pulamperna and Area, those are my favorite characters. It's the reason I play the EX games. They are not out yet. If the game sells well enough, they might be added as DLC. The designs are done. They've shown them. They've run out of money to add any more characters. So, puts me in an awkward position. I will be playing as Nanase then. I like Nanase's redesign, and I'll roll with it. Because if there's one thing I really like about Fighting EX Layer, it's how it looks. It still has the 90s anime design aesthetic. It still looks like Street Fighter EX. Design-wise, it seems like a game out of 1998, and that makes me happy, because I'm always complaining that modern anime character designs just are not as interesting as the stuff from the 90s. So I'm really happy to see that they still have that design sensibility, and more than that, the game looks really good. I wish Street Fighter EX looked as good as Fighting EX Layer. Or Street Fighter V. I wish Street Fighter V looked as good as Fighting EX Layer. I also wish Street Fighter EX looked as good as Fighting EX Layer, but same difference. The game looks gorgeous, and it's surprising because Arika is a really, really almost comically small company. So yeah, I think the game looks great. I love the visual style. I've played the beta, and it played pretty darn good. Played a lot like Street Fighter EX, and I can't wait to give it a spin. And this comparison video is hilarious. Because I'm looking at this. I'm watching the comparison video now for PS4, PS4 Pro. And I can't see a... Well, they just revealed who the first DLC character is. And I'm not happy. Because it's Volcano Rosso instead of Pulamperna. Let's check the YouTube comments and see how many people are complaining about the fact that it's not Pulamperna. This freaking game. A lot of people are happy about Volcano Rosso. I am now officially salty once again. The salt is flowing. I could go on for probably an hour, but it would not be appropriate for radio, so my tongue is currently held until I get back home. And then I am going to spew such a torrent of hate. I am angry now, and I know people love Volcano Rosso, but you should have prioritized Pulamperna, the main character of your series. So much hate right now. Dang it, Arika, how are you so incompetent? Anyway, moving away from Street Fighter, from fighting EX Layer and my eternal love-hate. I want to love this game, and it just keeps giving me reasons to hate it. And it's because Arika is so oblivious to what the fans want and what they're doing so flagrantly wrong. Ah! I'm sorry, for the rest of the show, I'm just going to scream into a microphone. Ah! No. Get it together. Let us move on. Deep breaths. Okay. Now that we have recovered from that, Dragon Ball Xenoverse is getting Super Baby this summer. Which, you say those words and it sounds really stupid, and then you remember it's Dragon Ball, you remember what Super Baby is. To anyone unfamiliar, Baby was one of the main villains of Dragon Ball GT, named Baby. And yes, Super Baby, affected, not the final villain. The final villain's Omega Shenron, but one of the main villains of Dragon Ball GT is coming to Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. So yeah, Xenoverse 2 is still getting updates. I don't think they're making a Xenoverse 3. I think they're just rolling with this one. They could just keep releasing DLC and people will keep downloading it. Yeah, that makes sense. Moving on. Pokemon Go now has friends and trading because it updates at the speed of slow. I don't know what Niantic is doing. Admittedly, I don't have a smartphone. I use a cheapo phone that I got from Walmart. Actually, no, I got it from Target. I use a cheap track phone because I keep losing my phone, so I don't have a smartphone, so I don't play Pokemon Go. But I know that Pokemon Go has been a disaster. That, it's this huge smash hit, and then there's always problems with how badly it drains your batteries and connecting to the servers. And then there was that utter disaster that was the Pokemon Go festival, and they keep doing dumb things with it. And now Niantic has a bunch of other games. Like, they have a Harry Potter version of Pokemon Go coming out soon. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, are you insane? Are you hiring thousands of people for staff? Because as it is, Niantic can barely keep Pokemon Go together. The game is too popular, it's too big, and they haven't updated. I don't even think they have proper PvP yet. I don't think you can actually battle your Pokemon yet. Oh, but we can finally trade them. Took long enough. Yeah, I'm gonna say Niantic is moving at the speed of slow with this. And adding Harry Potter to the mix is only going to make things even slower. I don't believe that they can properly juggle Pokemon Go and Harry Potter, because there's so many more features Pokemon Go still needs, and now as it is, they have so many server problems. Do you really think you could keep those servers running while doing Harry Potter and Pokemon Go at the same time? I don't see this ending well. I see this being yet another disaster. Oh, Pokemon Go, you're full of delight. Anyway, moving right along, a Kill la Kill game has been announced, although people are slightly salty, because all the advertisements were saying that it was going to be a collaboration between Studio Trigger, the makers of Kill la Kill, and Arc Systems Works. They were releasing a mysterious game, and they show it, and it's a Kill la Kill game, and people are super excited because, oh man, it's going to be like Dragon Ball FighterZ, but Kill la Kill, and that's going to be the best. Except, wait a second, it's not actually made by Arc Systems Works, it's made by A+. Who are A+? They're the people who did the Little Witch Academia game, which I'm hearing is not very good. They managed to copy Arc Systems' visual style, the way they did their cell shading to make it actually look 2D. They managed to copy that very, very well. But it's, now that they're moving on to, they managed to copy the visual style incredibly well. But, the gameplay just isn't there, and they're the ones who are actually making the Kill la Kill game, and Arc Systems Works is just publishing it. And so people are pretty darn salty about this. Hopefully the game will be okay, but A+ does not apparently have a good track record, and people are a little angry. Moving on, hey, let's get back to Nintendo Switch. So Warriors Orochi 4 is coming to America in October, and the Switch version is aiming for 1080p in docked, 720p in portable, both running at 60 FPS. They've said there will be graphical downgrades for the Nintendo Switch, but they really want to get the game running at 60 FPS. I think that is admirable. And if this trailer that I'm looking at really is the Switch version, then it looks freaking fine. I'm pretty excited to play it, because it sounds like they're getting things right. It's got 2-player split screen. It's a classic stage-based Dynasty Warriors. They're not trying to pull the thing they were pulling with Dynasty Warriors 9, where they had the open world and it was a disaster. It's all coming together. Moving on, apparently, Hidetaka Miyazaki of From Software is hinting at a possible Armored Core in development. They are hiring people to help make an Armored Core, and they've previously said that they are considering, getting back to Armored Core, which would be very nice. As I've mentioned quite a few times on this show, I love From Software, and I can't stand the Souls genre. So the fact that all From Software has been doing for nearly a decade is making Souls games has always driven me up the wall. And I do worry if perhaps they've lost too much talent to actually make anything other than Souls games, which, everyone else is fine with because everyone else is a Souls fan. But me, no, I'm more of a fan of, Ninja Blade. And, Lost Kingdom. That was a brilliant game. But yeah, so From Software is going to try to do a new Armored Core, supposedly. It's supposed to be in development, but I wonder how much of their staff they lost, because I know a chunk of the Armored Core staff is working on the Nintendo Switch game, Daemon X Machina, which you look at and you go, that's just Armored Core 4. That game is just Armored Core 4. It looks like it. It seems like it plays like it. Yeah, that's what it is. But apparently the Armored Core 5 guy is still there, for whatever that's worth. I don't know, I was a little iffy on Armored Core 5. It was a little, not Armored Core enough for me. But, moving on. Let's see, what else have we got going on here? There is a new Tales of game in development for consoles. They have not revealed any information, just, yes, we're making a Tales game for consoles. It's in development. It's been a hot minute. And I'm really hoping that long delay between Tales games mean that they've gone to their room and thought about what they did. Because I'm still angry about how Tales of Berseria turned out. And I'm hoping that they realized how badly they've been screwing up ever since Tales of Xillia, and they give us an actually good Tales game. Because a lot of people are like, yeah, no, Tales of Grace's F was kind of the last good Tales game we got. And that game had a terrible plot, but the gameplay was great. And Xillia 2 is supposed to be a lot better. I still haven't cracked into Xillia 2. But Xillia 2 is supposed to be a lot better, but still, we'll see where it goes. Anyway, it's time to take a quick break. So here is Yikes by Kanye West here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind, and stay tuned for more. That was The Way I Are, Dance With Somebody by Bebe Rexha, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. And oh, egad, I tried to look up more information on Fighting EX Layer. I have never wanted to love a game more and had a harder time doing so. I'm really curious what Kumite mode is. I really hope that means playing against the computer, because right now I'm looking at information on Fighting EX Layer, and it is being sold effectively as a full-price game with only a full-price fighting game with only 12 characters and no single-player content. Unless Kumite actually is playing against the computer, which I pray it is. Yeah, there's no arcade mode. It's Street Fighter V all over. They are taking the worst elements of Street Fighter V, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and putting them together in a mashup of terrible ideas. Terrible ideas that people wish they could support because we want a new Street Fighter EX game, but Arika is doing everything in their power to utterly screw this up. I don't know how. How? I want to like this. Okay, Kumite is survival mode. But, yeah, wow, so I don't think I'm getting my characters in this game. I mean, pretty much everyone who's looking into it is like, yeah, no, I'm not supporting this, it doesn't have any content. So, Volcano Rosso will come out, and that'll be that. If you knew the level of frustration and salt, because I'm going to be honest with you, this generation, there have been so many fighting games, and they've all been disappointments. I buy fighting games because I buy fighting games. I love fighting games. I haven't bought a single Capcom fighter this generation. Screw Street Fighter V, screw Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Just everything that's been coming out of them has been a disappointment. I felt the new BlazBlue was a disappointment. Really, it's like Chaos Code's the only fighting game this generation that matters. And that's technically a game from last generation, but now it has online play. I should just devote myself more to competitive Chaos Code, because no one's going to make a better fighting game than Chaos Code. We're done. Fighting games have reached their pinnacle. Everyone just go play Chaos Code. I talked about that. I'm sorry, getting a little personal. Focus. I want to like Fighting EX Slayer so hard. They're making this so hard for me. They are making this borderline impossible. The amount of determination needed here to support this dumpster fire. I am made of salt right now. And you know what? No, Dragon Ball FighterZ is also good. This is why Dragon Ball FighterZ is, like, dominating right now. Everyone else is screwing up so hard. I don't have any faith in Soul Calibur 6, for the record. Which, actually, there we go. There's a new topic. Soul Calibur 6. If you didn't see it, Maximilian Dude, popular fighting game streamer, actually, he was talking with the Namco people at E3, and they were like, dude, we'll bring the game to your house, and you can, like, play it for hours. Which they did. After E3, the Namco folks brought the current build of the game to Max's house, and he streamed it for hours with his friends. And it looks very, very promising. Our guard impact battles are back again. Game looks very nice. I mean, it's really hard to look better than Soul Calibur 4 and 5, but game looks really nice. But I am sitting here and wondering, what, if it's going to have all of the content. Because this has been one of the problems. The reason why Soul Calibur 5 sucked so hard for me was the fact that it was a contraction pack. It was literally just Soul Calibur 4 again, but with less. They cut out way too many characters. And I wish I could have counted. I should bring up that character select screen and count the spaces on it. Because I know they said they're going to do at least 3 DLC characters. Whoop-de-friggin-do. But I'm curious if they're going to get everyone back. Zasalamel, though, is confirmed, and they've pretty much confirmed that Talim is next up, especially because, come to find out, in a recent character popularity poll, Talim is the most popular Soul Calibur character, much to everyone's surprise. And yeah, so that was a huge mistake. If you're unfamiliar, Soul Calibur 5 lacked Talim, Zasalamel, or anyone using their style. It was also lacking the Korean characters, and that is what we're waiting on. Sungmina is a very, very, very beloved character, and if Sungmina is not back, there will be riots. And same thing with Hwang Sung-yo and Yun Sung. People like those characters. Hopefully they come back. That was, again, one of the things that people really noticed about Soul Calibur 5 was the lack of the Korean characters. hopefully they will be back. I look forward to their return. I'm pretty confident that Namco's not going to screw that one up. But at the same time, it's been interesting. I don't know. I don't know. But hey, Geralt from The Witcher is in it. Yay. I'm happy Zasalamel's back, and they've said that custom characters will be returning as well. Hopefully they'll get it right this time, because the custom characters have been getting worse with each subsequent Soul Calibur as well. I would actually say Soul Calibur 3 honestly had the best custom characters, aside from that whole skin tone issue thing, which was actually a mistake on Namco's part. I should do a video on that. They added more colors, and that resulted in them removing some very important colors. It was dumb. But other than that, I would say Soul Calibur 3 had the best character creation. Soul Calibur 4 the second best, and Soul Calibur 5 the worst, because they added more features, but they kept screwing up. Everyone screws. I don't even know where I am anymore. Hello. Focus. Do not go to Japan and punch all of fighting games in the face. Okay, so Dead or Alive 6. Let's move on to that topic. Wow, today's show is extra unprofessional, isn't it? Dead or Alive 6. Let's talk about that. So, that was shown off, and a lot of people have been saying that Dead or Alive 6 is focusing less on the fan service, and it's going to be more serious Dead or Alive, and Japan is livid about this, and everyone else is skeptical about this, because that's how Dead or Alive 5 started, and then they realized, oh wait, that tanked horribly, and they put out a bunch of Bikini DLC. I fully expect that to happen here with Dead or Alive 6, but one of the things, I heard a report from some people actually playing the game. The character's clothing can get torn during a fight, and it can get torn in some pretty lewd ways. So we'll just throw that all out the window. But more than that, though, they have an interesting focus on Dead or Alive 6, and that is damage. Because it's not just the clothing getting damaged. Your characters actually get bruises and scrapes as they fight. And one of the big new features is a kind of super move combo thing, where at the end of it, you punch the opponent in the face, and it goes into it zooms in, goes into slow motion, and you see their face, deform as they take the hit, and, the skin ripples and stuff, and then, it goes back to normal speed, and they go flying across the stage. And the moment I saw that, my big question was, yeah, that's great, but can you do that to the female characters? Because Dead or Alive, over half the roster is female. And most games would not allow that. I can safely confirm Dead or Alive 6 allows that. There are videos of Kasumi getting punched in the face and her skin rippling as she winces from the impact and goes flying across the stage. And she can get scrapes, cuts, and bruises during the fight. This is incredibly striking, and I like it, because I like it when people, don't try to baby the female characters and actually are like, no, if everyone's getting cuts and bruises, everyone's getting cuts and bruises. But at the same time, if they were hoping not to offend anyone by having less revealing outfits, I have some bad news for you, Koei Tecmo. I think people are honestly going to be more offended by the fact that the female characters can take cuts and bruises and get these big, huge punches that cause their skin to ripple and their jaw to look like it's getting dislocated. I think that is actually going to offend and bother people a lot more than skimpy bikinis will. And it's going to be entertaining as heck to watch as everyone throws a hissy fit. I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see how this plays out. It's going to be a dumpster fire. I'm wondering, are they going to, cut that feature before launch, or, have a special option in the options menu to make it so only men can get that effect? I could see all of these things happening. This is going to be such a dumpster fire. I do not see Dead or Alive 6 going over well. And again, I can't stop saluting Dead or Alive 5 for doing darn near everything right and no one really recognizing it. But Dead or Alive 6, it's happening. Yay. Let's see. Let's move right along to some other piece of news. The Fire Emblem Three Houses is not being localized by 8-4 Studios. 8-4 has had a slightly spotty reputation in the past, but nowhere near as bad as the Nintendo Treehouse. I'm curious to know. Basically, 8-4 has confirmed they're not translating the game, but honestly, this translation could go any way. Technically, not a single Fire Emblem has been translated accurately. None of them, not even the old GBA ones. They all make little weird tweaks and changes, but Fire Emblem Fates was, of course, the absolute worst of the bunch, and anyone who tells you that those changes are minor is an idiot who doesn't actually know what the changes were. When you drastically change a character's entire personality to the point where their body language is different, that is not a minor localization change. That is a drastic one in a game where character personalities and relationships are the star of the show, which is the case with Fire Emblem. So anyone who tells you that Fire Emblem Fates localization wasn't that big of a deal and that people are making a mountain out of a molehill, no, it's a mountain. I would argue it's darn near Mount Everest. Fire Emblem Fates is one of the worst localizations I have seen in decades. And I think that people who make light of just how bad that localization was are complete idiots who don't know what they're talking about. And I have no qualms with saying that. Moving on. Let's see. Here's a weird one for you. Who remembers Athena Asamiya of King of Fighters fame? Technically the reincarnation of Athena from the video game Athena. Yes, the one on NES. Yeah, so she's going to be a virtual YouTuber now. What even is this? What? Yeah, okay, fine. Are we going to get to watch Athena Asamiya play SNK games? Probably. Okay, fine, whatever. Hey, moving along. Mario Tennis Aces. So I already mentioned that I'm excited about Mario Tennis Aces. That comes out this Friday. So much hype, too much hype. I played the open beta online tournament thing, and it was a blast. I was terrible at it. The game, the skill level required for Mario Tennis Aces is way higher. It has a casual mode. There is a Wii Sports Tennis mode where you swing where characters move automatically and you swing the Joy-Cons to swing your racket. So there's casual modes for you if it's too much. But playing on the new mode with all the new moves, game is nuts. And I'm excited to really sink my teeth into such a deep and crazy arcade-style tennis game. Could be one of the most incredible games of Pong this side of Windjammers. But, what's extra interesting is it will be getting more characters. They've announced that Blooper and Koopa Troopa will be coming as DLC, possibly free. I think it's free DLC. And then by September, we will have Birdo, Diddy Kong, and Koopa Paratroopa. Good, because Koopa Paratroopa is actually like a really good character, because he's a flying character, and that gives him some unique mobility options. So I'm glad he'll be in. But yeah, no, all those will be coming by September 2018, and who knows what else is on the horizon. But right now, hey, guess what? It's time for another break. So, here is Last Night by True Life featuring Future, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind, and stay tuned for more GameBabble. That was Hunger by Florence Plus the Machine, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to the show, where I'm still uncontrollably sobbing about fighting EX Layer. Oh, boy. So, let's move on. Hey, good news, the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Nomura has come out and said it's not just in early development. We are actively working on the game. He's just split between Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy VII Remake. And as such, he's putting a lot of his effort into Kingdom Hearts 3. Once that game gets released, FF7 Remake will move along at a much higher speed. Woo! Maybe we'll finally get episode... I'd be nice if we could get episode 1 of Final Fantasy VII Remake in, 2 years. That'd be great, but might be being a little hopeful there. Other than that, though, good news for all y'all PC gamers, Yakuza 0 is coming to PC. And that's good news. A lot of people have been demanding that the Yakuza series come to literally anything other than a PlayStation console, and they've been very disappointed. The Yakuza series has a broad appeal to a lot of people in America, but not necessarily PlayStation owners. It's been a bit of a sticking point. So it's good that it's finally getting a PC release, and people will hopefully enjoy that. Also, hey, Freedom Planet's coming to Switch. That's good. I plan on buying that. If you've never played it, Freedom Planet, it's one of the few indie games that I really hype up. Freedom Planet was essentially, it started as like a Sonic fan game because, Sega wasn't really making some very good Sonic games at the time. So, hey, Sonic fan game, we'll make our own. And then it wound up getting too good. And so they turned it into its own universe with its own characters and changed it up a bit. Because unlike Sonic, which is more about going really fast and high-speed platforming, Freedom Planet has a greater emphasis on combat. The characters have a wide variety of different moves and stuff. And it's also a game, this is one of the things I love, it is a game that absolutely gets it. Because it does have a big old story mode that's fully voice acted by some pretty amateurish voice actors, but that's fine. But you can actually turn the story off. When you start a new game, you choose between adventure or classic mode. And adventure mode is, the one that has the cutscenes that are all fully voice acted, it has the plot. You choose classic mode, it cuts all that out, and it plays like it was an old Sega Genesis game. I have it on PC, it's been on Steam for a while, it's really good. You can download a demo from the website, they've got a sequel in development, and now it's coming to Switch. And that'll be super nice, because that game is so good. And yeah, Freedom Planet 2 in development, they've got their second demo up for that on the website, so while you're at the website, you can go download that. The company's called Galaxy Trail, but really you could just search Freedom Planet on Google, and you'll find the website. Go there, download the demo, you will find out it is a really, really, really good game. I freaking love Freedom Planet. So, alright, that about wraps that up. Let us talk about something kind of crazy, and that's mini arcades. I forget if I talked about this last week, but I've actually been working on a review of some mini arcades because I think they're the new hotness. I know a lot of people, they see the Super Nintendo Mini, and they see a bunch of companies making little plug-and-plays, and they're like, oh, everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. In reality, Nintendo was the last to jump on the bandwagon. We've had plug-and-play TV game consoles. You put some batteries in, you plug them into your TV. We've had those for well over a decade now. There's still some out there. And there are some that are designed to look like classic consoles, like the Atari Flashback and the Coleco Flashback. The NES and Super NES Classic didn't do anything new. And on that note, the NES Classic is getting its re-release pretty soon. I need to check when that is. But yeah, they didn't do anything new. They were just the last to jump on the bandwagon. And admittedly, they provided a very nice premium experience, but point still stands. That was a big trend for a while. And I see a new trend on the horizon, and it's mini arcades. Now, about a year or two ago, I remember walking into a Best Buy, and I saw a miniature centipede machine. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but it didn't really light my world on fire. The other week, though, I walk into Walmart, and I see two more varieties of these, including a miniature Bad Dudes arcade machine. Okay. Miniature Pac-Man is one thing. Everyone does miniature Pac-Man. But a miniature Bad Dudes machine, what? So, then I saw a Karate Champ, and I was super excited, only to then notice that it had 2 buttons. Karate Champ isn't played with buttons, it's played with 2 sticks. Well, come to find out, all of these miniature arcade machines, the ones on the store shelves anyway, are really running the NES versions of the game. Why? Because the NES on a chip has been incredibly cheap. We're talking pennies on the dollar for like 2 decades. It is so cheap to produce NES on a chip games. So that's what they're doing. NES on a chip, hook it up to a little screen, get a controller, and they put it out there. But at the same time, they're freaking adorable, and they are relatively cheap. And I think the whole shtick behind them is their collectability, especially the My Arcade line, which actually is very well constructed and has like the proper arcade art. So when you get in the miniature Bad Dudes arcade machine, yeah, it's playing the NES version, but it looks just like a Bad Dudes arcade machine. You buy the miniature Burger Time, it looks like a Burger Time machine. It's as much for collecting as it is for playing, especially because, let's be honest here, miniature arcade machines aren't exactly the best form factor for portable gaming. So there are currently 3 different varieties of these things on store shelves. I'm working on a review, but I'm going to tell you right now, none of them win. All of them have an equal amount of pros and cons. Like the arcade classics, which were the first to hit the market, are very cheaply constructed. They use a plastic joystick that's very springy. You can literally feel a spring behind it. And, like, the decals on it are paper, and there's, like, bubbles under them. And it feels really cheap. However, they're the most comfortable to hold in your hand. They have the best screen. And they make the most accommodations for the player. Like, they make the most tweaks to make theirs the best experience. I picked up Q*bert, and they actually diagonally gated the joystick on Q*bert. Because in Q*bert, you move in diagonals. So doing up, down, left, right feels awkward. So they gave it a diagonally gated joystick. It's the most fun I've ever had playing Q*bert. But in turn, they added in, like, a loading screen, which, now that I looked at it, that's them skipping the controller configuration from the NES version of Q*bert that they're running. They've replaced it with a little loading screen because, it takes a minute to skip those screens because they have their own control configuration for the, for the diagonals, right? But then there's Rampage, which apparently is Walmart exclusive. The Arcade Classics Rampage, it's running the NES version of Rampage, right? Except they changed the title screen to look like the arcade version, and they put Ralph in the game. If you've ever played the NES Rampage, it only had George and Lizzie. Ralph was cut from the game because I guess they didn't have enough space or memory or something. Point was you chose between Lizzie or George. But in the Arcade Classics version, which is the NES version of the game, they have a whole new character select screen that looks more like the arcade, and you can select Ralph, the wolf. He's back. They put him back in the game. How? That's the most unexpected, out-of-nowhere thing. Meanwhile, the My Arcades, much prettier, much better construction. They're bigger. They feel like they're made of way better plastic. The decals on them are laminated plastic. They look nice. Their controller actually has a metal cord joystick, which can be unscrewed. There's a D-pad underneath it, and if you just want to play with the D-pad, you can unscrew the joystick. They have a headphone jack in the back, and you can turn the volume up and down on them with some buttons. And you can even play them with like a USB plug. The other ones, they all run on batteries. This one, it can be batteries, or you can plug in a USB plug. Doesn't recharge anything, but you can like play it that way so you don't have to worry about batteries. So these are the ones with obviously the nicest feature set. But they are very plain copy-paste, here's the NES ROM in this cabinet. They don't really make any accommodations like the Arcade Classics. Also, both the Arcade Classics and My Arcade, the screen resolution is wrong, and the image is slightly stretched. Like, some lines of pixels have 2 pixels instead of 1. On a lot of games, you can barely tell. Like when you're playing Galaga and you get 2 ships, if you look closely, your 2 ships will be slightly differently shaped because the pixels are wrong. But Bad Dudes, it stands out on Bad Dudes. But at the same time, egad, the My Arcades are so pretty. Also, they're less comfortable to hold because they, stick out more. I guess it depends on how you hold them. But, the My Arcades, best shell, but weaker experience. And then there's the tiny arcades, which are really more of a novelty. They're keychain-sized miniature arcade machines. I love the fact that the marquee lights up, but they had to do special custom ROMs for the tiny arcades. So that way they would be more visible on the tiny, literally thumb-sized screen. I mostly notice this comparing Galaxian to Space Invaders, because those are two of the ones they offer. I noticed that the Space Invaders are too big. Well, of course they're too big. If they shrank down the Invaders anymore, they'd lose their iconic shape. And they're not so big that they disrupt the gameplay much, just enough that they move down at a faster rate than they would in the arcades. So again, it's a change made for visibility. On Ms. Pac-Man, you'll notice the ghosts move in a choppy manner, but I don't think they could move faster without, move more smoothly without moving too fast. But I notice that Ms. Pac-Man's mouth never stops chomping. So that's clearly, this is a different version, but it has all the cutscenes in it. They're interesting. The tiny arcades are perfectly playable, but they're a bit tricky. And any of the ones that use a shoot button, the machines all have two buttons on them, whether they use them or not. And unfortunately, one is start and the other is shoot. And that's a problem because the start button feels like it would be more comfortable for shooting, and the shoot button feels like it would be more comfortable for starting. But whatever. The tiny arcades are pretty nice, but they have one critical flaw that I honestly can't believe. There's no mute function. So, if you actually use them as keychains and kept the power on so it, retained your high score, they have a sleep mode. If you turn them off, it'll delete your high scores. But if you leave them on, they'll go into a sleep mode, and then you hit the buttons on it to wake them up. They could just start making noises in your pocket, and there's no way to turn that off other than turning off the whole machine. And they are very loud. They have the loudest speakers of all of them, and the best sound quality, I'd say. And you can't turn it off. So I would consider that a critical flaw of the tiny arcades. So this is what I mean by each one of them has their own unique strengths and weaknesses, and none of them are really the best. But those are the three that are on store shelves at Walmart right now. By the way, if you're looking for the arcade classics with Rampage, for some reason those are in the toy aisle, probably below the Funko Pops. They have very similar packaging, while the others are in the electronics aisle. I don't know why. But, yes, those things are on store shelves right now, but there's three more on the horizon. Coleco, and I'm using all the quotes in the world on this one because the name's been bought by some random dudes who tried to do a console called the Retro VCS. It's dumb. Or was it Retro VGS? Whatever. Point is, those guys have found the old Coleco mini arcade shelves, and they're doing a Rainbow Bright and a Robotech game, and they kickstarted that, and so that's one on the horizon. Another one on the horizon is called Replicade, and these are super premium, 12-inch tall, literally Barbie-sized arcade machines that are made of wood and die-cast metal, and they have the proper controllers. They have a centipede on there that actually has a trackball. They have a Tempest on there that has a proper paddle controller, and they're using the actual arcade ROMs, and they cost an arm and a leg because they're super premium recreations of an arcade machine in miniature. They are fully properly shaped. They've got a Street Fighter II Champion Edition coming out too, and that one actually has a second controller so you could actually play two-player. But the one that has my head turning, and I've mentioned this a couple times, is the Neo Geo Mini. And it is a miniature Neo Geo arcade machine with 40 games built in. Does not run on batteries. You plug in a power thing. But the nice thing about the Neo Geo Mini is that you can also plug in two different controllers and an HDMI plug and play it on your TV. It's not just a mini arcade. It's its own full-fledged mini system, which is good because it's probably going to be very pricey, but everything I've seen shows they're putting in real effort. Apparently, the tiny little controller works. The small screen is actually plenty big. I've heard very good things. And what's really interesting is that there are going to be two versions, the international and the Japanese version. And they're slightly different. The Japanese version is more colorful to look like the actual Japanese cabinets, while the international version has this black controller on it, black and gray, that looks more like the home systems. Weird that they're not going for, like, the classic cherry red look, but whatever. But they do actually have a different game list on each one. And I don't think the international version is getting screwed. Basically, the Japanese one, the focus is entirely fighting games. It has all the King of Fighters from 94 to 2003 on it. Whereas the international version, it only has, like, 95, 98, 2000, and 2002. So, we don't get as many, but we get the actually important ones that people care about. But on the flip side, the Japanese Neo Geo Mini only has Metal Slug 1 through 3, whereas we have Metal Slug 1 through 5 and X. So we get all the Metal Slugs, they get all the King of Fighters. The game variety is much better on the international version, but we are getting screwed out of 2 of the 80K games, namely Twinkle Star Sprites, which is of course a favorite of mine. The arcade version has many, many, many flaws with it, but I still love Twinkle Star Sprites, so disappointing we're not getting that. And Ninja Commando. I'm very disappointed we're not getting Ninja Commando. I freaking love that game. Ninja Commando was also from 80K. It was a top-down shooter, and its main gimmick was the faster you pressed the fire button, the stronger your shots got. That thing will wear out your fingers so fast, but I had so much fun with it, because, yeah, you have to mash that as fast as you can in order to fire the strongest shots. It's utterly ludicrous. And I had a lot of fun with it. I love Ninja Commando. I am disappointed that we're not getting that. Also, for some reason, we're getting Real Bout Fatal Fury, but not Real Bout Fatal Fury 2. Okay. But, either way, the machine looks phenomenal. I'm hearing good things from E3. Because they had it on display at E3, and the Japanese one is supposed to come out this summer. No word on price tag or when the US one is coming out. But the weird thing is the controllers look like Neo Geo CD controllers, but they use almost an analog joystick that I've heard described as feeling a lot like a trackball, rather than the clicky sticks from the Neo Geo CD. And that's weird because the clicky sticks were phenomenal. So I don't know why we're not getting clicky sticks, but we're not getting clicky sticks. I'm disappointed in that, but otherwise, looking pretty good. The Neo Geo Mini is freaking happening. And I think it's brilliant too, because of course a lot of people looked at it and said, why are they doing the tiny screen? Isn't that going to jack up the price? No, judging from what I've seen at Walmart, I don't think the tiny screen is what's going to be jacking up the price. But, you know, I would say that's also the reason it gets interesting, because one of the general reactions to the NES and Super NES Classic is, oh, it's an emulation box. I can make that with a Raspberry Pi, no problem. Whereas, if you have a miniature arcade machine, it's a mini arcade machine. I could make that with a Raspberry Pi, but that would take a lot of work and effort and would probably cost me more than just buying this little machine. It's a big paradigm shift, and it makes it way more compelling. I'll be honest, if it was just a little miniature Neo Geo you hooked up to your TV, wouldn't be as interested as I am in the fact that it's a mini arcade machine. I'm super excited to get my hands on this thing. It looks adorable. I need one. I need one so bad, and I hope it's not too expensive because I need one. Anyway, it is time for us to take yet another break. So here is I Am by AWOL Nation here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much. That was I Think I Love You by Leigh McQueen here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to the final segment of GameBabble Live this week. Your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. I would love to deliver more video game news to you. Unfortunately, it looks like everything is blowing up. I can't connect the laptop to the internet, and the station computer is just kind of stuck. But one of the topics I actually wanted to cover, though, was, of course, VR. Because I think a lot of people probably noticed that there wasn't a lot of VR at this year's E3. Actually, what's funny is some people still complain that Sony's press conference had too much VR in it, even though all they showed were like 2 brief VR game trailers while transferring people from the freaking church to the main hall thing that things were taking place in, and people still complain there were too many VR games, that Sony was pushing VR down their throat. I'm sorry, I find the haters kind of funny. But no, believe it or not, there was apparently a ton of VR games at E3 this year. Reports tell me that Sony had, like, this freaking VR demo tower you could go to that had like over 30 different PlayStation VR games to play. Why didn't you hear about it? Easy, because no one cares about VR, even though it's still a thing. I would give you a list of all the great many VR games that were being shown off at E3, but as I said, everything is currently exploding. However, I can tell you, thank goodness, we did get a new trailer for Ace Combat 7. It still has the PlayStation VR logo. That's still happening. Oh wait, that's right. Trover Saves the Universe, was shown on the main stage, and that's VR optional. Woo, one game. Yo, that's the thing. If you're unfamiliar, Trover Saves the Universe is an action platformer from Justin Roiland, who is the co-creator of Rick and Morty, and he's doing Rick and Morty voices. It's basically a Rick and Morty platformer that doesn't have the Rick and Morty characters, but it may as freaking well. I don't know, it's the kind of thing that even fans are looking at and going, this looks kind of stupid. I'll probably enjoy it because of the platformer in VR. Actually, that's one of the other things. I forget the name of it, but they're finally making Robo Rescue into a full game for PlayStation VR. See, one of the things you can do with the PSVR is you can download the Playroom VR, which is a completely free download. It has a couple different like goofy games you can play with your VR headset. And one of them is a game called Robo Rescue. And what Robo Rescue is it's a 3D platformer that you play in VR, even though it's played in third person. The way that works is that you act as sort of like this overseer robot, and a little robot pops out of your controller, and you sort of remote control it as it runs around the environment. And that wound up being like overwhelmingly cool. It was really neat playing a third-person 3D platformer in VR, being surrounded by the world and just remote controlling this little platformer robot. And a lot of people loved it. Unfortunately, it was one stage long. And people were like, this is one of the best games in VR, and you only gave us one stage. We need more, we need more. Well, Sony listened, and they're giving us more. So now that's coming out. There's a ton of other VR games on the horizon, and it makes me happy. Cripes, throat's giving me trouble. One of the reasons why, and this is the thing, I know a lot of people look at VR and they go, VR doesn't have a future, it's too expensive. Well, prices are dropping. I think the PlayStation VR is actually on sale with Sony's Days of Play sale, I think it's called. But the point is, yes, I understand VR is definitely too expensive. We're all waiting on price drops. We're all waiting on it to get better games. But it continues pushing forward, and there's a reason why. Number one, unlike last generation's gimmicks with the Wiimote, Kinect, and PlayStation Move, all the different VR headsets all use pretty standardized controllers. Even when the controllers work completely differently, they're all capable of detecting the controller's actual position in 3D space, which wasn't really possible with the Wiimote especially, but with any of those, pretty much any of those older controllers other than the Move. The fact that the PlayStation VR is still using the Move should be a sign of how good that was. It's just no one made any games for it. The Move was great, though. And, now everyone is providing that same level of control. It's more standardized. And because of that, you could actually make a game on the Oculus Rift and port it to the Vive and the PlayStation VR. You can make a game on the Vive and port it to Rift and PSVR, and so on. And what this means, since these are standardized, and that there are just normal ones for sale, you don't have to hack your system to hook a Kinect up to it, it means that there's VR games on Steam being made by indie developers, and that's what's keeping VR alive. That's what's keeping it going, is there's a ton of indie developers who love the VR experience and are supporting it by continuing to make more VR games. And so, right now, there are hundreds of PlayStation VR games on PS4 right now. There are thousands of VR games on Steam, and there's still more coming out, more in development, because it's an interesting frontier that people want to fiddle around with. And this is the key. VR is absolutely lacking in the big budget AAA games that really turn heads. Absolutely. Big companies don't really want to support it. Bethesda's weirdly going all in. You know, they've got a Wolfenstein VR game, a Prey VR game, and possibly a new Elder Scrolls VR game with Elder Scrolls Swords. They're actually, like, supporting VR. They're one of the few big companies to be supporting VR this strongly. You know, you got them, you got Sony, but most big companies, they don't want to touch VR because it doesn't have a big enough install base. They're not going to make their money back. They can't really put in a AAA VR effort, and that's a darn shame. And I understand that's why a lot of people are wary about VR, because yes, right now it is 98% indie games. However, because these indie developers keep making VR games, means more VR games are constantly coming. They're constantly improving. They're constantly exploring and making these games better. And it means that there's a future. Now that the genie is finally out of the bottle, now that, consumer-grade VR is a thing we can buy, people are experimenting with it, and they're going to experiment with it for years to come, and eventually we will get that breakthrough. Eventually we will have that one indie game that's so incredible and so amazing in VR that you just gotta buy a headset just to play it, and then when you do, there's all the other indie games in VR that aren't really that mind-blowing, not mind-blowing enough to warrant purchasing a VR headset for, but enough that, you're not disappointed in your purchase, because, again, there's already a bunch out there, people just don't really talk about them, and then from there, hopefully by then, the headsets will be cheaper, more people will own them, then it'll be more worthwhile to make VR games, and then VR takes off. Admittedly, this is probably still a year or two away. Probably with the actual PlayStation 5 release. We might see something, assuming Sony doesn't drop the ball, which that's the problem. Assuming Sony doesn't drop the ball, Sony's known for dropping the ball. But I can definitely see a future for VR. I don't think it will replace standard gaming, absolutely not. There are strengths to standard gaming, and I think the Nintendo Switch especially exemplifies that. The Nintendo Switch is very much one of the best kinds of standard gaming because it's both a console and a portable. You can take it with you, which you can't do very well with VR. You can play it at home. You could do multiplayer, everyone's sitting around a big screen. It's great. But at the same time, that's not VR. And VR is an entirely different experience, and it's going to be interesting to see what exactly it's going to take to finally trigger VR to take off. But I do believe it absolutely has a future. It is not going away anytime soon, and I'm happy with mine. But at the same time, I understand the price is an issue. There aren't a lot of games that are really turning heads right now. People are happy about Beat Saber, but there aren't really a lot of games that really make people go, "Oh wow, yeah, I need a VR headset right here, right now." And on top of that, it's just, people aren't really being drawn in yet, but it's picking up steam. There is certainly more on the horizon, And this E3, there was absolutely a VR showing. I'm just having the darndest time bringing it up because this computer is stuck. It's easy to get blinded by the OMG they put Daisy in Smash Brothers. That it can't see past that to see my VR. But I still think there's something here, and I think it's a shame that not a lot of people reported on what went down when it came to VR at E3, but still. Can we all just agree, though? That was one of the best E3s we've had in a long while. Pretty much everyone had something to show. I know people were disappointed because they were expecting certain games. I know that was a running theme. Anyone who was really disappointed in this E3, they're disappointed because they expected a game. They thought that, they expected a game. They thought that there was going to be, I don't know, that Square was going to show something of Final Fantasy VII Remake, that Nintendo was going to show something of Bayonetta 3 and Metroid Prime 4, and then when those didn't happen, people got, super disappointed because they were thoroughly convinced they were going to happen. They were thoroughly convinced that the Star Fox Racer was a real game and not something someone made up on Reddit. So, so they were disappointed in that, but if you went in just hoping they showed something you wanted to buy, something interesting and fun looking, pretty much everyone delivered on that. Every single conference had something that turned my head and made me say, I think I could get behind this. Even Bethesda, who I'm generally not a big fan of. I'm interested in seeing their VR games and what they do with Elder Scrolls Blade once it gets off of mobile crap. So yeah, that's where we're at. Either way, I hope you have enjoyed this week's GameBabble Live. Here's hoping I will be back next week, and we'll provide you with more video game news and information here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. And hopefully, maybe I'll actually get an episode out on my YouTube channel. So I got the one on mini arcades, the one on Smash Brothers Ultimate actually being a new game. I'm going to prioritize the Smash Brothers Ultimate one. That's a pretty easy rant. I put up some comparison pictures. There's no argument. So I'm hoping to get that going. Until then, though, I hope y'all have a good week. Enjoy yourselves some games, and I'll catch you next week. So, thank you so much for listening to GameBabble Live here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you again for listening. Now it's time to kick you back to the music with Why Can't We Be Friends by The Academic here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, Ferguson. Thanks again for listening.